Hey everyone, and welcome to the EMT-SPOT Blood Pressure Podcast. I'm ready to dive into some fascinating stuff with you today.
And I'm excited to be here too, exploring what some new research means for, well, potentially all of us.
Yeah, today we're taking a deep dive into something really common, nighttime snoring.
Hmm,
Now, we all know it can be a bit of a nuisance, right? Whether it's us or someone nearby making those rumbling sounds.
definitely.
But here's the thing. Some pretty significant research has just come out suggesting it could be way more than just annoying.
That's right. It might actually be giving us important clues about our health.
Specifically about blood pressure, which is our focus here.
Mhm.
So let's unpack this. What's the big picture?
Well, this wasn't just some small study. We're talking about research involving, get this, over 12,000 people globally.
Wow, 12,000. That's substantial.
It really is. And what makes it particularly interesting is how they tracked everything. They used continuous at-home sleep monitoring tech.
Oh, not just asking people.
Exactly. Proper objective data for 9 months straight.
9 months. That's a long time. Gives you a pretty detailed picture, I bet.
For sure. They use things like under mattress sensors plus FDA-registered home blood pressure monitors. So, reliable stuff.
Okay, so with all that high-tech snoozing data, what's the main thing we need to know? The key finding.
The absolute core finding is a really strong link between regular nighttime snoring and elevated blood pressure.
Elevated blood pressure, okay.
And even undiagnosed hypertension. Cases people didn't even know they had.
Really? Undiagnosed.
Mm-hmm. And what's particularly noteworthy is that this connection seems, well, especially pronounced in overweight men who are middle-aged.
Right, that specific group.
Yeah. This research provides some pretty solid objective evidence that snoring isn't just, a funny quirk. It could be a real indicator.
A sign of something more serious with their cardiovascular health.
Precisely.
Okay, now, when you say regular snoring,
Yep.
what does that actually mean in practice? Like, how much snoring are we talking about?
Good question. The research defined it pretty clearly. They found about 15% of the participants snored for more than 20% of the night.
20% of their sleep time, on average.
On average, yeah. And this level of consistent nightly snoring was definitely associated with both higher blood pressure readings and uncontrolled hypertension.
Uncontrolled hypertension. That sounds worrying. What does that mean exactly?
It basically means high blood pressure that isn't being managed effectively. Maybe it hasn't been diagnosed, or perhaps the current treatment isn't quite working.
Gotcha. And the link was strong.
Very. The study found that people who snored regularly like that had nearly double the risk of having this uncontrolled hypertension compared to non-snorers.
Double the risk. Wow, that's significant.
It really is. It's a bit of a wake-up call, you could say.
No kidding. And I remember reading something about sleep apnea factoring in, too. That makes it even worse.
You're absolutely right. For people who not only snored regularly, but also had diagnosed sleep apnea.
Which is different from just snoring, right?
Yes, exactly. We should probably clarify that. Sleep apnea is a specific disorder where your breathing actually stops and starts repeatedly during sleep.
Okay, pauses in breathing.
Right. So for the participants who had both regular snoring and sleep apnea, their risk of uncontrolled hypertension nearly doubled again.
Doubled again. So the combination is particularly risky.
Extremely risky, yes. It really highlights the danger there.
But, and this seems important from what you said earlier, even snoring without the full apnea is still a concern.
That's a key takeaway from this research, definitely. Even isolated snoring without those clear breathing pauses of apnea carries a heightened risk of hypertension.
So we shouldn't just dismiss it.
Absolutely not. It's not just background noise. It could be a genuine cardiovascular risk marker that warrants attention.
Okay, so we know what the link is. Let's talk about the why. What's happening in the body?
Well, the current thinking is that it relates to sleep quality. That fragmented, poor quality sleep you get from airway obstruction.
When you're snoring.
Right. It can trigger these sustained physiological stress responses overnight. Your body's basically under stress repeatedly.
And over time, that constant stress contributes to high blood pressure.
That seems to be the mechanism, yes. It leads to persistent high blood pressure.
And we know long-term high blood pressure isn't good. What are the major risks associated with that?
Well, unfortunately, uncontrolled hypertension significantly increases the risk for really serious health problems. Things like stroke, heart attack, kidney damage, and even cognitive decline later on. It's serious stuff.
Which is why catching it early is so vital.
Absolutely critical.
And this research really drives home that snoring alone, even without confirmed apnea, is a piece of that puzzle.
Exactly. It builds on what we already kind of knew about poor sleep quality being linked to other issues, like systemic inflammation, insulin resistance,
Right.
and those spikes in blood pressure that can happen during the night. But this study really strengthens the direct link between snoring itself and hypertension risk.
So what does this mean practically? For doctors, say, should they be asking about snoring more?
It certainly suggests they should. This highlights snoring as a potential and, importantly, a modifiable risk factor.
Modifiable meaning you can do something about it.
Yes. So in primary care, but also in cardiology settings, it seems important to include snoring assessments as part of the overall cardiovascular risk evaluation.
Makes sense. So for those of us listening, maybe someone who snores or their partner does,
Yeah.
what are the signs that it might be more than just noise?
Okay, good question. If you or your partner notice frequent, loud snoring, that's the first thing.
Loud and often.
Yes. And especially if it's combined with other symptoms like feeling really tired during the day despite seemingly getting enough hours of sleep,
Daytime sleepiness, okay.
or waking up with morning headaches, or, and this is a big one, if there are observed moments where breathing seems to stop, or there's gasping or choking sounds during sleep.
Right, those pauses we talked about with apnea.
Exactly. Any of those could indicate an underlying issue that really needs looking into.
So if someone hears this and thinks, that sounds like me, or that sounds like my partner, what's the next step?
The best first step is always to talk to your GP, your healthcare professional.
Just bring it up with them.
Yep. They can assess the situation, ask more detailed questions, and figure out if further investigation is needed.
Like a sleep study.
Potentially, yes. That might involve a home sleep study kit or sometimes a more comprehensive overnight study in a sleep lab called polysomnography.
Okay. And while someone is waiting for appointments or tests, are there things they can try? Lifestyle changes.
Yes, there are some general tips often recommended, like from the UK's NHS, for example. Things that might help reduce snoring.
Such as?
Well, if you're overweight, trying to lose some weight can often make a difference. Extra tissue around the neck can contribute.
Right, the weight factor again.
Also, trying to sleep on your side rather than your back. Sometimes using a wedge pillow or a special posture pillow can help maintain that position.
Side sleeping. Got it.
And perhaps more for the partner's sanity, but encouraging them to wear earplugs if the snoring is disruptive.
Yes, the earplug solution. Anything to avoid.
Definitely. Avoiding smoking is generally advised, as smoke irritates the airways.
Okay.
Cutting down on excessive alcohol, particularly in the hours before bed, is also helpful. Alcohol relaxes the throat muscles, making snoring worse.
Okay, that makes sense.
And generally, it's best not to rely on sleeping pills, as they can have a similar muscle relaxing effect.
Right, so avoid things that make those airway muscles too floppy, basically.
That's a good way to put it, yes.
But the main message is, if you're worried, see a professional.
Absolutely. If sleep apnea is suspected, or if snoring is persistent and causing issues, consulting a GP or a sleep specialist is key to explore potential treatments.
So wrapping this up, the big conclusion from this significant research.
Snoring is more than just noise. It's a measurable indicator of elevated hypertension risk, especially, as we said, in middle-aged, overweight men.
And there's a call to action here for healthcare providers, too.
Yes. To really integrate snoring assessment into routine cardiovascular risk checks and to promote early intervention where it's needed.
Because intervening early could have real benefits down the line.
That's the crucial point. Addressing snoring, whether through lifestyle changes or specific medical interventions, might genuinely help prevent or manage the serious long-term consequences of uncontrolled high blood pressure.
Well, this has been incredibly insightful. It really reframes how we should think about snoring. That nighttime noise could be telling a much more important story.
It certainly could. Regular snoring could be that warning sign for high blood pressure, and it's definitely worth taking seriously and discussing with your doctor if you have concerns.
Thank you so much for tuning into this deep dive on the THEEMTSPOT Blood Pressure Podcast. We really hope you found this information valuable.
And remember, just staying informed, this is a really powerful part of looking after your own health.
If you enjoyed our discussion today and want to hear more deep dives into health topics that matter, please make sure you subscribe to the podcast.
And we'd love it if you could comment, or perhaps share this episode with anyone you think might benefit from hearing it.
You can also follow the THEEMTSPOT on social media. We share updates and extra content there too. Here's to a quieter night's sleep and, more importantly, a healthier future for everyone.